So let's take a look at the complaints of these individuals who are going so public, so vocally deriding the plant-based diet. Let's look at what their complaints are. They are complaining about the fact that there's a ton of bloating, digestive problems, joint problems, calcification of the entire skeletal system, such that they are feeling very old before their time, that they're looking very old before their time. It goes on and on, but fundamentally they're talking about joint issues and intestinal inflammation. So when we see inflammation, we know that there's acidity in the body. The body is responding to the acidity. It's kind of like the body's having an allergic reaction to the acidity. When we see intestinal issues, we know that there's waste accumulation, there's gas, noxious gases growing in that waste accumulation, and there's pathogens growing in that waste accumulation, which are largely responsible for the noxious gases. And those pathogens are proliferating and having babies, and their babies are having babies, and so it's growing and colonies are growing. It's colonizing. They're like they're colonizers, they're colonialists, colonizing your body, okay? That's what's happening. So, if we look at a plant-based diet as it should be undertaken, and let me tell you what that should look like. Minimal intake. People eat way too much food, okay? If you say that you're on a plant-based diet, you could be eating celery and arugula and avocados, or you could be eating soy and nuts and seeds and fruits and grains and, throw a few greens in there maybe, and as much sugar as you want. Sugar cane is a plant, right? So, and you can be eating tons of honey and agave nectar and oils, all these things that go into all the fermented foods. So let's not confuse the concept of a plant-based diet with the ideal diet for the human body. Okay, that's number one. Number two, people cannot forget they are coming in with lineage. That means the organs that you came into this world with are defunct. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but you didn't come in with a full deck. Generations and generations of improper eating, improper living, improper thinking, improper feeling, dysfunctional everything led you to who you are right now. So you can thank your lineage for that, but it's a fact that we have to deal with. So, too much food, lineage. And then we have the problem of, remember we talked about lineage, well, that one of those dysfunctional organs happens to be your intestine. So you have a weak intestine that's meant to contend with overeating. I mean, I don't care if you're literally eating greens all day. You need to have 4 stomachs like a cow in order to digest that. Okay, you don't even have one properly operating stomach. So let's look at what a plant-based diet should be. Okay, not what it is, not what people would like to label it and define it as being, because that definition is basically like, it's like a banquet, a smorgasbord, what the French, that we call a buffet. The French say when you overeat, it's called bouffer. J'ai bouffé, j'ai trop bouffé. I've eaten way too much. It can also mean that you're actually going to regurgitate. Je veux bouffer. So, anyway, with my limited French, just to understand that basically what we're talking about with the typical plant-based diet is a buffet, whatever you want to call it, of anything and everything. It is chaos. It is too much food, and it's too much variety, and it's too much of everything at once. And the problem is that people are coming off of a mainstream diet looking for a solution, and they hear about veganism, even raw veganism. You can be a raw vegan and still have these concoctions where in a single meal you're mixing starches and nuts and fruits and oils, and your body can't contend with that. The body's not meant to break that down. I joke often with my clients that yes, we have teeth, we have a digestive tract, we have a way. Just because we can speak doesn't mean we should be speaking all day. I try and remind myself of that sometimes when I get intense with things I want to share. Just because we have a digestive tract does not mean we should be eating all day. It does not mean that we're designed to consume. Our head is above our stomach. In animals, the head and stomach is pretty much in alignment. So look at a dog or a cat or a sheep or a goat or a cow. they're meant to consume a lot more. Our physiology, our spirituality is meant to have, the way we're built is, it takes that into account. We're evolving beyond the need to consume food as a means of building ourselves. I've got this beautiful sunlit day behind me. I actually have sunflowers on my dress, I just realized. We are people of the sun. First of all, there would be no life on this planet without the sun. You all know that. But the true nourishment is the life force. It's what comes through the sun into us. It's what we are born with innately, inherently, and it is it's synthesized and transmuted into dark leafy greens, and that's chlorophyll. So that's synthesized sunlight. If we want to think about where we should be evolving toward from a nutritional standpoint, it's toward the sun. It's toward consuming the sun, which means moving toward an almost entirely green leafy diet. Okay, not plant-based at large. Plant-based, again, it's soy, it's grains, it's nuts, it's seeds, it's fruits of all kinds, most that have been hybridized and are basically pure sugar. So let's think about our evolution as we gain sanity, functional cleanliness, functional order, and a functional connection to where we're going and where we came from. So, all right, so this bloating, this inflammation, this is all coming from taking in the chaos. Now, why are they feeling better after they're going on a meat-based diet? That's probably the question that you're all wondering. Well, they're so much better. Of course they are. Plant-based diet has a ton of inflammatory foods in them, and what we call expansive foods. Grains create expansion in the body. They create expansion in the gut. And then you have the animal foods, which are very yang, which are very contracting. So you're probably asking yourselves then, why are they feeling so much better on a meat-based diet? And why are they then touting the benefits of a meat-based diet? Well, their inflammation's going away, and their gut biodome isn't so reactionary. Why is this? Okay, first of all, let me also state that these individuals are speaking about this are vocalizing this on social media widely now after only 6 months of being on a meat-based diet. That's really important to take into consideration. Meats and all animal flesh foods and animal-based foods are very contracting. First of all, they have very low water content. Unless you're eating them raw, you're literally like grabbing a bunny from the field and chomping that bunny, and that sounds horrific, but let's just bring the reality back. Unless you're like, grabbing that cow and that little lamb. They have been dried by cooking and, of course, over time. So you're getting a very low water content food. And you're getting a food that has the characteristics, the properties that contract in the body. They get smaller. Grain and nuts and fruits all expand in the body. They're expansive foods. I'm not saying they're good. I'm saying they're expansive. I'm not saying right now that the animal flesh is bad. I'm saying it's contracting. So if you've had all of these very expansive foods going into your body, which are, of course, in their combinations, in the chaos of it all, they're creating, first of all, way too much cellulose. Way too much cellulose. Cellulose mulch. It's the stuff that you chew up. Okay, too much cellulose, too much fiber. Just because, this whole fiber story, we need to get into that later. But basically, it's all expanding, which is, again, creating all that carbonic gas, all the noxious gases, and all those proliferating pathogens. They're just having a field day in that mess. It's all fermenting. That fermentation, that putrefaction is causing all that gas. And that's not leaving the system properly because, again, you didn't come in with a full deck. You have defunct organs, and you're not able to eliminate the quantities that you're taking in. Confirmation from the acorn. So this matter is growing in your body. And here's, days, weeks, months ticking by, maybe more. And you're thinking, well, I'm supposed to be feeling, maybe at first you were feeling so much better because maybe at first your body didn't get any kinetic energy because you were eating all dehydrated foods with no vitality. And suddenly you're having water-containing foods with with a lot of vitality, so they've got a lot of life force. Say you go on a raw vegan diet, suddenly you're getting a lot more water content and you're getting a lot more vitality, and all of that kinetic energy from that food is going to displace the dry, dead food in your body, and you're going to have some what we call beginner's luck in this work. Okay, I'm not operating off beginner's luck anymore, just for the record. This is the longevity of a lifestyle that works. So you have all of this accumulation happening, and then all of a sudden you decide it's not working for you because you're bloated. Naturally you're bloated because it's too much waste and too many noxious gases. And you decide you're going to change. You're going to change things up. You're going to stop with the fruit and the grain and all the vegetable, plants, soy, oils, whatever it is you were doing, and you're going to go meat-based. That means there's no fruit, there's no grain, there's probably maybe nuts if you're going paleo. There may still be oils even, but the absence of all of those foods and the absence of all, the absence of all those expansive foods is now being reduced to nil. What you're left with are completely contracting foods. So even your oils are contracting. Your oils, your butter, your flesh foods, these are all contracting foods. So you're going to have a temporary experience of your body deswelling, which means that your joints are going to feel better temporarily. You're not going to succeed on either this plant-based chaos or on this meat-based diet. Neither one is correct. I always love the expression, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. That's from a fabulous man called Nir Berliner, who was dealing with the Nazis in Treblinka when they, well, it's a terrible story, I won't tell you about it now. But basically, this is his when put between a rock and a hard place of note, his response was, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. He shot the Nazi officer, and that was his solution. But I'm not suggesting anyone get violent here, but I am suggesting that we ignore, dismiss, categorically just disregard two options that clearly do not make sense. And what I also find even offensive, because I care about you guys. I'm offended by you guys getting bad information, okay? I find it offensive that those who consider themselves authorities in health, first of all, they would say things that aren't true over a prolonged period. Secondly, that they would speak of the virtues of a new path after only experiencing it for 6 months. And thirdly, that I just think it's immature to go from one end of the pendulum to the far other end of the pendulum, just thinking, well, this isn't working, so let me do this way over here. It's completely, it's irrational. It's actually irrational. It's not a sane mindset that says, okay, well, I'm going to completely flip the coin on this. Because what do we know about coins? Heads and tails, the two sides of the same coin. Okay, we're going to throw that coin out. That coin does not apply. Plant-based chaos and meat-based diet, two sides of the same erroneous, uneducated, ignorant coin. Okay? Bing! Bye-bye coin. Okay? So now, what are we going to look at? How are we going to, there was another great saying, you cannot take away a person's belief system without offering them a better one. Okay, so let's offer you a better one. There is a better one. There's a fantastic one. And that is, number one, let's look at how the body functions, how it operates. We know we came in with this lineage. We know our organs aren't operating at full capacity. We know we need to take in a lot less food. We know that the food we're getting is highly compromised. What do? Number one, we get very comfortable with the fact that we need to really cut back on our consumption. This exploitation that we've been, the entitlement that we've had as humans on this planet, it's so misguided, it's so wrong. There's a term called wetiko, W-E-T-I-K-O, and it's a term that the Native American Indians came up with to explain the psychosis that the settlers had when they came to America and just cannibalized the natives that were living there, the earth, they had zero consciousness, zero consideration of what they were actually consuming. So it's actually a psychological term that describes the psychosis of cannibalism, okay? Wetiko, look it up, it's an amazing term. We all suffer from Wetiko, okay? I still suffer from Wetiko. I'm not taking myself out of the sort of collective problem, but we have to acknowledge it in ourselves in order to at least be minimally possessed with this virus, this pathology. And it's incumbent upon each one of us to check with ourselves to make sure. Stop pointing the finger at everyone else. Oh, you're eating animal products. Oh, you're drinking milk. Oh, that's not going to help anybody. And besides which, it's really important for vegans to remember that agricultural exploitation, let me put it this way, it's really important for vegans to acknowledge, accept, realize that the biggest offender to this planet is agriculture. So it's not necessarily vegan to even have a carrot, because the way produce is raised in this world decimates whole ecosystems. So to raise your soy, to raise your corn, go back to the coin again, to raise your soy, to raise your corn, to raise that which is going to turn into your various oils and the fruit orchards, and the quantities that have to be produced to meet consumption requirements, not requirements, but to meet consumption demands, decimates the planet. So even though you might be eating plants, doesn't mean that animals weren't eviscerated for your plant food. Again, I'm not saying vegans are wrong, I'm not saying they're right, I'm just giving you facts, information here, so that you can choose how you want to engage it with this body, with this world, with each other, with all the living things, so that you can do the right thing and not be confused and extricate yourself from the chaos and be like, I'm not in that two sides of the same coin economy anymore. I'm in a completely different economy, an economy of truth, an economy of functional cleanliness and functional order, an economy that actually provides for my needs and doesn't exploit the needs of other living things in order for me to have those needs met. And there is a way to do that.